I'm not Mitch Connor, and we have another ISIS execution video, which will be linked in the description above a list of videos that I've made that will back up a claim that I am about to make that I've made numerous times before. Now, if you watch the video, you will see this scene right here into this scene right here. You might as well just watch this picture and this picture because there is a clear edit. Okay, because once again it's fake. There is no evidence showing that it is real. They do show the bodies at the end, but you'd think that like stuff would fall on them and be on top of them, but it's not. Okay, but it basically, they took film of the guys sitting here, pulled them out, took film of blowing this building up, and then splice them together with editing, okay, where they cut it before they pulled these guys out and then showed seconds or maybe a second after the explosion, okay, and it went from this frame essentially to this frame, for example. I'm not saying that's the exact frames, but that's essentially what happened, okay. The video is in the heavy.com link below, and it's very apparent. I don't really think I even need to make a video about it. I've made enough, probably. I don't know, there's a few more that I want to probe a little more if I have time, but anyway, this video here doesn't really show anything, just them being led into the building, so there's no point in watching that. It's this right here that you want to watch if you have the guts, because there's really no gore. Like at the very end, they show the second of the two bodies. They show the first one, and there's like no blood or anything, just like a bunch of dirt on it. I'm not thinking it's a dummy. I'm just thinking it's the dude laying there being made up, and like having a bunch of dust and crap thrown on him. But the second body, there's like blood underneath him, but I am saying I think it's fake. I really do. The video linked right here that I'm pointing out. And furthermore, I want to point out, I'm having a hard time finding the link in my little archive, but al-Baghdadi, back in, I believe it was July, allegedly said he doesn't want any more of these videos made and released for the children. But it's not my responsibility to source everything every single time. Okay, I've sourced it previously. It was a few videos ago that I made, so it shouldn't be that hard to find if you really want to find it, or you can just search it out on Google yourself. Furthermore, I found this released probably hours before it. There's a link to the video right here. It's a 9-minute video of them beheading this guy. They're not showing the pictures here. This is a different video here. Another orange jumpsuit guy, but of course, right before the sword comes down, he's got his head on a post sticking up out of the ground, like guy's on his knees, leaning his head on it, and right before the sword comes down, it cuts to black, and then it shows the guy's body laying on the ground with his, head off, supposedly. Looks like a fake head and body, and then they basically do some fun special effects, because when a chicken gets his head cut off and stuff, and the body's still running around. Well, with this one, he places the head on top of the body, and you can't see any verifiable movement on the head as he's picking the head up and putting it on the back, and then it changes view and stuff. Which there is a discrepancy of the amount of time that is passed, probably, because the camera angle changes, and you can see like the face clearly from like a upward diagonal angle, and he's wiping the blade off, the blood off of the blade onto the back of the body, and the face is moving, the mouth and is I don't know if it's trying to say something or what. I mean, it's obviously silent, but the mouth is moving and stuff, which I am guessing is added to give it a realistic feel. But see, there's a lack of the evidence that the head is moving while actually disconnected to the body, because it only happens while it's connected to the body. And in the realm of special effects, with those who have expertise with it, it's not very hard to pull that off at all. You either have the there's basically a hole in the body and the head sticking up through it, a lot similar to when somebody looks like they get cut in half, and really there's a hole in the bottom of, like the table, and there's like a dummy bottom half, and they get cut in half, or their head sticking up, and it appears like it's connected to the body, and then the rest of the whole body is a dummy, with like all this fake gore and insides to it, like intestines and whatnot. And then there's the CGI method, where basically you have the exact same camera angle, and you shoot basically the same scene, from that exact same camera angle, with two different scenarios. One with the dummy head, and one with the real head sticking up through there, and you interpose that real head over the dummy head. And this is the sort of thing they've been doing since last, was it December or January, when the Peter Kasich video, the last of the Jihadi John killings, came out, where they had the first CGI mass execution, and they were cutting through the knife, or through the necks like butter. There was no resistance for the knife, and the blood was squirting out like very unrealistically. Like, yes, blood can squirt from the jugular and all, but the way it was coming out, it was very unrealistic, and obviously CGI blood. It was really pathetic. Anyway, watch the links in the description for, the debunking of the ISIS execution videos. I contend that they are not the Islamic State, which is what they are called now, as far as the people actually fighting over there in Iraq, Syria, and whatnot, okay? Over in the Middle East. I also found this today. ISIS captures Assad's last oil field in Syria, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says, which is based in Britain, of course. And there's a funny tie to Britain. Britain's secret ties to governments, firms behind ISIS oil sales. I believe I covered this before. It's from July 31st. If I didn't, I probably didn't have time. No, it's not. I don't think it's completely confirmed, if I remember what I read. I just came back to it, obviously, since you saw the tab wasn't up there. Paused it and loaded it. But Syrian Observatory for Human Rights doesn't have a perfect track record as far as their reporting, and there's a lot of alleged and supposed, kind of commentary from them. But if the Islamic State actually did that, this article is probably rather relevant. Of course, I've displayed the ties between U.S., Britain, and Israel to the Islamic State many times. And I'm not the only one out there on YouTube that has. You can go through my past videos or whatever. You can go through numerous other people's videos. It's simple as searching. So in closing, I'm just going to say what I've been saying for a little while now. These ISIS execution videos, they're being done so that Americans and Westerners perceive it as a threat. They're not a threat to the United States. There is a very interesting thing going on right now, though. I'm not going to bring up an article, but it's not hard to find. There's a mass migration of Syrian and refugees from other countries in the Middle East and Northern Africa into Europe right now. And this seems to be confirmed, but how hard is it really, think of, consider the expertise of high military commanders and their understanding of military history, military tactics, and even how it affects things like social migration. They know what they're doing when it comes to this sort of thing, okay? They understand how it works. And even people who are not directly tied, who are not military personnel, but have a lot to do with the military, like former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld. Very well understand these sort of things. I remember Rumsfeld, being asked a question about like some celebrity garbage during the, I think it was still during the Bush administration, or maybe just after, and he's just like, I don't know. All I do is read military history books, pretty much, or said something very close to that. Like at the time, at least, he was reading, book on military history, some era of some country, I can't remember exactly. But the main point I'm trying to make is that they understand the cause and effect of their actions. They do a certain thing, they know the likely effect of it. They create a proxy army over in the Middle East that's just messing things up, just brutal as hell. Okay, yeah, people are going to run from it. They're possibly even going to run out of the Middle East into Europe. I was watching videos on InfoWars, embedded on InfoWars earlier today, alleging that, people were like protesting in, what was it, like Budapest or whatever, and there's even African immigrants in Italy, were like, oh, the conditions are horrible, or they're, illegal immigrants, refugees, and all that, and the ones in, I believe it was Budapest. And they were screaming "fuck you, Allah Akbar," and yada yada to to the police there. They were like protesting and kind of rioting, and it looked like there was a little bit of fighting with the police. And there was also a group of people that were there was like a leader speaker, and people were like chanting with him after he said like a sentence or two of whatever in his language. I couldn't understand what he said except for Allah Akbar, and they were yelling Allah Akbar on the train in unison, yada yada. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a militant people, but that they're just speaking in solidarity. And with the protesters in what I seem to remember was Budapest, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're extremists. Maybe like the people in Italy from Africa, like there was one guy from Ghana, they're mad about the living conditions they're being given as refugees. I mean, on one hand, it's kind of out there to expect, like, oh, we're going to put you up in the Hilton, just because you came to our country as a refugee. But I can also understand their pain if that is actually the case, but there's no evidence that they're actually militants, but the right-wing media, and sites like Bare Naked Islam and InfoWars and yada yada are trying to push it as, a bunch of ISIS militants are coming into the country and yada yada, or be wary of that, like be scared of that. And from the the series of ISIS propaganda videos over the last year, there have been snippets of calling for that, yes. Even though some of them were in videos with fake executions. And once again, why would the Islamic State make videos of fake executions when they could just really kill the people? Which would be much more traumatizing, okay? Because, I mean, people who have seen these videos, who are discerning people, straight up laugh at these videos because some of them are so pathetic. And that includes me. A few of them have been really well done, though, and I've broken some of those down. I haven't broken down every single one. I mean, who has the time? It takes a long time to do it and break it down into the individual frames to show you the fraud. But the point is that, the media twists things. Like, they could honestly just be mad about their conditions as refugees, like they... like the Nigerian guys in Italy were like, these tents that were given, there's a bunch of water leaking into them and stuff, and it's like, squalid conditions. Then again, the little riot at the end of that video could have been staged, but I'm not speculating on that at this point. I recently did show one really good example from Breitbart.com about a month ago of these... they were claiming that these people were being crucified in the streets in whatever Syrian city that Islamic State had overtaken, and they were basically equivalent to people with dunce caps put on. They weren't actually being crucified. Their arms were over these bars that were over these shoulders, and they had these things hanging from their necks, these signs, okay? It was basically just a degrading punishment for them, is all. They weren't being crucified.